Hi, welcome. This is The Richest Man in Babylon, Chapter 1, The Man Who Desired Gold, discussed. If this is the first video of mine that you're watching in this series, you probably ought to go back to video 0, the introduction, where I kind of lay out what everything is here. You should probably also watch the Chapter 1 summarized prior to this one. So the purpose of this video is to go into a little more depth on Chapter 1, The Man Who Desired Gold. And my intention here is to really bring out some of the deeper meanings and connections of the chapter into our lives. I was about to say I really like this chapter. I really like all the chapters. I think this book is fantastic. The core message I kind of think that this chapter really goes for is we are all Banseer. So Banseer, right, is the chariot maker, and he has this dream that he was wealthy and that he was able to provide for his family everything that they wanted, so forth and so on. And he wakes up very distraught to the point where he's not even working because he wants that. He wants that for his family. And I think, again, that's you and me. We are Banseer. We work and work and work, whether it's, going to college and school or whether it's working 3 part-time jobs or any number of things, right? We work and work and work, and yet so many of us aren't progressing financially. It's so frustrating, right? So frustrating when we've been working so hard and we have so little. It's pretty common for us to blame the system, right? And of course, while the system is not perfect, whether you're anti-capitalist, whether you're anti-socialist, whether you're a fascist, doesn't matter. Regardless of what your opinions of the system is, there has never been a better time in the history of the world to become wealthy than today. We live in the best time in the history of the world for individual wealth, regardless of your opinion of the system. So what do we need to do then? Why aren't we being successful, or why aren't we building up that wealth? So we are Banseer. Sorry, my book is right next to my microphone here, so sorry if you hear the pages. So we hear Banseer, right? We're kind of inside of Banseer's mind, and then Cobby comes along and it's like, hey, you must be doing really well financially if you can afford to just sit around and not work. Of course, that's not true. And Cobby winds up asking, Banseer for some money, and Banseer says, I really liked this sentence, no one lends his entire fortune, not even to his best friend. Kind of driving home the point that we all kind of put our families first. And that's the way it should be. Our family, us taking care of our family is our number one responsibility. Cobby and Banseer have some, I don't know if it's Cobby or Cobby, have this conversation back and forth, right? Where Cobby kind of empathizes with Banseer about the financial struggles and how tough it is. And I, empathize with you for those, for all of us who are working so hard and gaining so little. Sorry, that does suck. It's tough. So Banseer's talking about his dream, right? And I really, really like this paragraph, so I want to read it with you. Never in all those years did I think like this before. From early dawn until darkness stopped me, I have labored to build the finest chariots any man could make, soft-heartedly hoping someday the gods would recognize my worthy deeds and bestow upon me great prosperity. This they have never done. At last I realize this they will never do. There's so much wisdom in these couple sentences at the beginning of this paragraph. We all want to be wealthy, right? We all want wealth. Every single one of us. If you're watching this video, you are somebody who desires wealth. You're either watching this video of your own fruition because you're looking for additional financial wisdom, or you're watching this video because a teacher or professor has assigned it to you, or the book at least, and you're using this as a cheat sheet, and you're going to school so that you can become successful. If you're watching this video, we're all in the same boat. We are all Banseer. But notice what Banseer said here, that he'd never thought like this before. And he recognized his soft-heartedly hoping that the gods would recognize his work and reward him. Is that what we're doing? Is what I think the author, Clausen, is suggesting here. Have we just been working soft-heartedly expecting the gods to reward us? How many of us have been working, but not received the things that we're hoping for? He goes on, I wish to be a man of means. I wish to own lands and cattle and have fine robes and coins in my purse. I am willing to work for these things with all the strength in my back, with all the skill in my hands, with all the cunning in my mind, but I wish my labors to be fairly rewarded. What is the matter with us? He's talking to Cobby, right? Again, I ask you, why can we not have our just share of the good things so plentiful for those who have the gold with which to buy them. This is a super common, passionate feeling that a lot of people around the world feel, right? We all want more. We all want, maybe we don't all want more, but we all want people of means. Why hasn't this happened? And I don't want to get into the whole politics of it all, but some people suggest that capitalism is the problem. Some people suggest that socialism is the solution, right? Take the money from those who have it, give it to those who don't have it, that kind of thing. This book actually does kind of address that later on. We're not going to get into that right now. But this is kind of the great question. Why can't we have the wealth? We see everybody else, or not everybody, we see so many people out there being wealthy. Why can't we be wealthy? How did they get wealthy and how didn't we? And that becomes the question of the rest of this chapter. Cobby and Banser continue their conversation. So Banser actually points out to the slaves. So the two of them can see a train of slaves carrying water up to the famous Hanging Gardens of Babylon. And Banser makes the point that we're no worse off than they are, and they're no worse off than we are. What does it mean to be a slave? A slave is somebody who works and works and works for somebody else, right? At the end of the day, a slave has nothing new to their financial value than when they started, right? They didn't bring home a paycheck. They're not paying rent, they're not building equity. They're not putting into savings accounts. Everything they do builds up somebody else, right? How's that any different than what so many of us do? Think about it. If you are living paycheck to paycheck, you are living the life of the slave. Because what does it mean to live paycheck to paycheck, right? You receive your paycheck and then you immediately, pay rent or your mortgage, you buy your groceries, you pay your phone bill, you do X, Y, and Z, and when you're done, you have nothing left. In other words, you have worked and worked and worked to sustain other people, not yourself. Because at the end of the day, have you progressed? And if the answer to that is no, you're basically a slave. Not having financial independence is a form of slavery. Are we enslaved to our own financial foolishness? To our own way of living? To our circumstances? This book covers all of those in later chapters. And then Banser asks a pointed question. Perhaps there is some secret we might learn if we but sought from those who knew. What's the secret of wealth? How many of us have had that same thought, right? What is the secret? What is it that made this person or this person or this person so wealthy, whereas I'm working 60 hours a week and living paycheck to paycheck? What's the secret? There's got to be some sort of secret. Or maybe you're assuming that those people are wealthy because they have lied, cheated, stolen, or maybe you're under the impression that, they obviously just inherited that money and they didn't actually earn it. Well, spoiler effect, the vast majority of millionaires out there earned their wealth through hard work. And that's exactly what this book is going to explain to you and me how to do. And then, so the story kind of continues and eventually to the point where Cobby and Banser remember their friend Arcad, and they kind of grew up with Arcad. Banser, Cobby, and Arcad all grew up together, and they all grew up relatively the same financially. They all grew up, maybe lower middle class or whatever, and yet Arcad is heralded as the richest man in Babylon. Roll credits. And so their question is, why? What is it that Arcad has done that we haven't? And so the question, or the idea comes up, well, let's go talk to him. Let's go ask him. It costs us nothing to ask questions. And that is another key lesson for us, right? It doesn't cost us anything to do research most of the time, right? With the internet nowadays, oh my gosh, we have so much information at our fingertips. We have more information in our pockets than we will ever be able to ingest. Ever. What a day to be alive. It's amazing. Again, never in the history of the world has this been true. You can become an expert on anything you want to. It's all right there in your pocket. You don't have to go to university to become an expert in something. You can learn everything you need to from what is in your pocket, the phone that is in your pocket. The difference, of course, is that you don't get the degree. It never costs anything to go out and gain information. And that's what Banser and Cobby decide to do. They decide, well, if Arcad is so financially successful, let's go talk to him and find out why. And that would be that's another good piece of counsel for us. We want to be financially successful. All right, well, let's go find people who are and ask them what they're doing. The key point here is ask people who are financially successful. Don't go talk to people who don't know what they're doing. And you're going to see this advice come up over and over and over and over again in this book. Get help from people who know more than you do. It's okay. You do not have to be an expert on money right now. You don't. I think when kids are young, they have the impression that parents and adults know everything, right? And then so we kind of grow up with this understanding or this impression that when I grow up, I will know everything. And then, you hit your 20s and you're like, well, I'm in college. Obviously, I don't know everything. And then at some point between your youth and your adulthood, you realize, oh, heck, I don't know anything. I'm an adult now. I expected to know things. I don't know them, but I'm expected to know them. I'm supposed to know them. There's that terrible word supposed to, right? There's a lot of psychology that goes into the word supposed to. I'm supposed to know, and so I don't want to be embarrassed because I don't, so I'm just going to fake it or whatever. Humble yourself. This book does talk a lot about humility, by the way. There's lots of examples of humility in this book. Humble yourself and accept the fact that it's okay that you don't know everything. It's natural for you to not know everything. Accept that as a reality and go out and get wisdom and knowledge from people who know more than you do, who are good, proven, credible sources in those things. You wouldn't go talk to a carpenter to learn how to build a website. You don't go talk to a web technician to learn how to put in a carpet. You don't talk to somebody who's got $89,000 of credit card debt, $300,000 of student loan debt, and 4 car payments about financial wisdom. They don't know what they're doing. And if I just called you out, I'm sorry. I love you. We're all in the same boat together. We're all trying to learn together. Go talk to somebody who is financially successful, who has a retirement account set up and is building up, who doesn't have credit card debt, so forth and so on. So kind of, wrapping up the idea of chapter 1, the man who desired gold. We are Bansir. Babylon is America or the Western world or the free market or wherever, you want to, whatever demographic that allows for free economic growth. We have to intentionally want it. We have to go intentionally forward for our wealth, which requires us to be intense and intentional and not just want it, but want it. We have to be willing to go out and gain additional knowledge and expertise from people who know more than we do, and then listen and apply. And the listen and apply, we'll talk about a little bit more in chapter 2. All right, I think that concludes our summary of The Richest Man of Babylon, Chapter 1, The Man Who Desired Gold. If you have additional insights or comments on this chapter, I would love to hear them in the comments down below. Please keep everything friendly. And at this point, hopefully you move on to Chapter 2, The Richest Man of Babylon. You can watch the summary, and then we can discuss it together afterwards.